All right, so you're going for a director of compliance and information security role in gambling.
Yeah.
That's pretty serious,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So consider this deep dive your like personal prep coach.
Right.
We're going to be using insights from RoleCatcher's guides,
Yeah.
pulling from real interview questions and expert advice to make you feel totally ready to impress those hiring managers.
Okay. So what's really interesting about this role is that you need legal savvy and cybersecurity expertise.
Oh, wow.
The gambling industry faces a ton of scrutiny,
Right.
making this position super essential for maintaining trust and keeping things running smoothly.
So it's not just about like knowing the rules.
Right.
It's about anticipating issues before they become like huge problems.
Precisely.
Okay, cool.
And to get you ready for those tough interview questions, let's look at some examples from RoleCatcher's database.
Okay.
One question that trips a lot of people up is, can you describe your experience with regulatory compliance in the gambling industry? Sounds straightforward,
It does.
but I bet there are some nuances that could make or break your answer.
Right. What are interviewers really trying to get at with this question?
They're looking for a deep understanding of regulations in gambling.
Okay.
This means not just general compliance,
Right.
but being an expert in laws, regulations, and standards that directly impact gambling.
Yo.
They want to see if you can take regulations and make actionable compliance strategies that work for their games and platforms.
So instead of just listing every regulation I know, I should focus on the ones that relate to what the company offers.
Right.
Like online poker or sports betting or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't just tell them you understand. Prove it.
Right.
Use specific examples from past roles
Uh-huh.
to show you can navigate complex compliance challenges.
Okay.
Think about times you implemented a new program, identified a violation, or helped adapt to a regulation change.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Using examples shows how I've used my knowledge in the real world.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions could they ask to dig deeper into my experience?
They might ask you to elaborate on an example or present like a hypothetical scenario. They could ask, imagine a new regulation affects your loyalty program.
Okay.
How would you ensure compliance while minimizing disruption to customer experience? Be ready to think on your feet and show off your problem-solving skills.
It sounds like they want someone who can follow the rules, but also apply them creatively and strategically.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to cybersecurity.
Okay.
Another question they might ask is, what is your experience with information security in the gambling industry?
This is where your cybersecurity skills are important.
Okay.
The gambling industry handles tons of sensitive data, from finances to personal info. So you're not just protecting against hackers, but also insider threats, and ensuring the games themselves are fair.
So the stakes are high and the threats are always changing.
Right.
How can I answer this without getting too technical?
Focus on practical experience.
Okay.
Talk about security risks you've addressed. Like maybe you implemented a system to prevent fraud. Or led a team that responded to a breach. Quantify your achievements. Instead of saying, I improved security. Say, I used multi-factor authentication and reduced phishing by 40%.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's much better.
Right?
Yeah, that's a strong way to show how my actions made a difference.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about my cybersecurity experience?
They might ask about specific security tech you've used.
Okay.
Or your experience with incident response planning. They could also ask about emerging threats.
Okay.
Like those related to AI or blockchain. The key is to show you're up to date.
Right.
And always learning.
That's where certifications can help, right?
Yeah.
The career guide recommends a few, like CSSP, CSM, and CIPP. Having those on my resume shows I'm serious about information security.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Certifications show commitment to best practices and professional development, which can give you a real edge.
Okay.
Let's move on to a sensitive topic. Can you describe your experience with anti-money laundering AML regulations in the gambling industry?
AML is a big deal for casinos.
Yeah.
They can be targets for money laundering schemes.
Right.
What kind of experience should I highlight when answering this?
Be ready to discuss how AML laws like the Bank Secrecy Act impact casino operations.
Okay.
For example, they might ask how you'd handle suspicious high roller activity.
Okay.
And the thresholds for reporting to FinCEN. They want to see your practical knowledge of AML regulations and how you've applied them.
Okay.
Have you done investigations, implemented compliance programs, or trained staff on AML procedures?
Okay.
Be specific and quantify your achievements whenever possible.
So instead of saying, I'm familiar with AML regulations,
Right.
I should say, I developed and implemented an AML training program for 100 employees, resulting in a 20% decrease in suspicious activity reports.
Exactly.
Oh.
Numbers speak volumes. Also be prepared to discuss specific AML red flags you've encountered and how you mitigated those risks. They may even give you a hypothetical scenario involving suspicious activity and ask how you would investigate it.
It sounds like they're looking for someone who can think like a detective.
Yeah.
And take decisive action.
Right.
This next question shifts gears to team leadership.
Okay.
How do you ensure your compliance team stays up to date with changes to regulations and industry best practices?
This question is about your leadership and how you create a culture of continuous learning.
Right.
They want to know if you can keep your team at the forefront of compliance in a rapidly evolving industry.
So it's not enough to just be a compliance expert myself.
Yeah.
I need to be like a compliance coach.
Precisely.
Okay.
Describe your approach to training and development. Have you implemented training sessions?
Yeah.
Created a system for sharing industry updates? Encouraged your team to pursue certifications?
Okay.
Emphasize how you empower team members to learn?
Right.
And foster a collaborative environment where they can ask questions and share knowledge.
That makes sense. Creating a good learning environment is key for everyone to stay on top of things.
Right.
What follow-up questions might they ask to assess my team development skills?
They might ask about specific training programs.
Okay.
Or how you measure the effectiveness of your training. They can also ask about your experience mentoring or coaching team members.
Yeah.
Be prepared to show off your ability to build a high-performing team.
So leadership and communication are just as important as technical skills.
Exactly.
This next question focuses on internal audits.
Okay.
Can you describe your experience with conducting internal audits?
This question is about understanding internal audits and how you approach identifying and mitigating compliance risks.
Okay, so what kind of experience should I highlight?
Instead of just listing audits, focus on their importance.
Okay.
Discuss the different types you've done, the methods you've used, and the key findings.
Right.
Most importantly, talk about the actions taken from those findings.
Okay.
Did you implement new controls?
Yeah.
Revise procedures? Or provide recommendations to management?
Yeah.
It's about showing you can take audit findings and make actions that improve compliance.
Right. It's about turning those findings into concrete actions.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about my approach to internal audits?
They might ask about challenges you faced during audits or how you've handled resistance from audited departments. They could even give a hypothetical audit scenario and ask how you'd approach it. Be prepared to show your analytical problem-solving and communication skills.
Now, this next question presents an interesting problem.
Okay.
How do you balance the need for compliance with the need for customer experience in the gambling industry?
This explores the balance between regulations and customer experience.
Yeah.
It's easy to focus on the rules, but this is an entertainment industry. Finding that sweet spot is crucial.
So how can I answer this without sounding like I'm prioritizing fun over compliance?
It's about finding creative solutions.
Okay.
Share examples of how you've implemented compliance in a way that's smooth for customers.
Right.
Maybe you streamlined KYC or developed user-friendly materials on responsible gambling.
Okay, so show them I understand the customer and make compliance a positive experience.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask to gauge my ability to balance these priorities?
They might ask you to describe a situation where you had to choose between compliance and customer satisfaction. Or brainstorm ideas to improve compliance without impacting the customer.
This is where my problem-solving skills come in.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about crisis management.
Okay.
Can you describe your experience with incident response planning in the gambling industry?
This question is about your ability to handle security incidents, which happen in an industry with sensitive data and cyber threats.
Yeah.
They want to know if you can stay calm and lead through a crisis.
Okay, so what should I highlight when answering this?
Focus on the incident response lifecycle.
Okay.
Describe your role in developing plans, conducting exercises, and responding to actual incidents.
Okay.
Highlight your preparedness, clear communication, and technical expertise to contain and remediate incidents.
It sounds like they're looking for someone always prepared
Yeah.
and ready to act when things go wrong.
Right.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask about my incident response capabilities?
They might ask about specific incidents you've handled.
Okay.
Lessons learned and improvements made.
Right.
They could give you a hypothetical scenario.
Okay.
And ask you to walk through your response.
Got it.
Be prepared to showcase leadership communication and technical skills.
Okay. So thinking strategically is key.
Right.
Now let's move on to a question that takes a broader perspective. How do you ensure that your compliance program is aligned with the business strategy of the organization?
This question assesses your strategic thinking.
Okay.
And seeing compliance as a business enabler,
Right.
not just a box to tick. They want to know if you understand the business strategy, objectives, target market, and competition.
Okay.
And can explain how your compliance program supports those goals.
So it's not just about following the rules.
Right.
It's about understanding how they help the business thrive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Share examples of how you've aligned compliance with business strategy. Maybe you helped launch a product while staying compliant or developed a program that boosted customer trust.
Okay, so I need to show that I'm thinking beyond the checklist and considering the bigger picture.
Right.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask to explore my strategic thinking?
They might ask you to describe a situation where you faced challenges aligning compliance with business strategy and how you overcame them.
Right.
Or they might give you a hypothetical business goal and ask how you develop a compliance program for it.
Okay. I need to connect the dots between compliance and business objectives.
Yes.
Now let's get to the final question on risk management.
Okay.
Can you describe your experience with conducting risk assessments in the gambling industry?
Risk assessments are the foundation of any compliance program.
Right.
They want to see your structured approach to identifying, analyzing, and mitigating risks.
So what experience should I highlight?
Talk about the types of risk assessments you've done,
Okay.
the methods used, and tools leveraged.
Right.
Don't forget to quantify the impact.
Yeah.
Did you find a vulnerability that could have caused a data breach?
Right.
Did you recommend a control that prevented a financial loss?
Okay, it's about showing them I can identify problems and take action to fix them.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about my approach to risk assessment?
They might ask about specific risks you found,
Okay.
how you prioritize them, and your mitigation strategies.
Right.
They could also ask about emerging risks, like AI, blockchain, or cryptocurrency.
So I need to show I'm not just reacting,
Right.
but anticipating and addressing problems.
Exactly.
We've talked a lot about interview questions.
Yeah.
But how can I use RoleCatcher's AI to make sure I'm giving good answers?
RoleCatcher's AI is great for tailoring answers and feedback.
Wow. How does it work?
It analyzes the job description, finds the key skills and experience, and provides suggestions for your resume, cover letter, and responses.
Wow. So it's like a personalized cheat sheet.
Yeah.
But instead of answers, it helps me frame my skills the right way.
Right.
So it's not about memorizing, but understanding how to present myself.
Exactly.
RoleCatcher's AI helps me highlight my strengths in a way that aligns with what the hiring manager wants.
Oh.
For example, if the job needs AML experience, RoleCatcher will suggest you highlight examples of implementing AML programs.
Okay.
Or conducting investigations.
That's really helpful.
Right?
Yeah, it takes away the guesswork.
Exactly.
And lets me focus on my skills.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, I want to talk about RoleCatcher's Career Guide.
Okay.
It gives insights into the career path for this role, showing the different stages and responsibilities. It's like a roadmap for understanding where I fit in.
Exactly.
Can you give a quick overview of the typical career stages?
It usually starts with a compliance analyst.
Okay.
Doing audits, helping with policies and monitoring regulations.
Wow. Then you might become a compliance officer. Then a manager.
Yeah.
And finally, a director.
Okay.
Each stage has its own responsibilities and challenges.
Well, it's a journey of more responsibility and impact.
Right.
But even if I'm applying for an entry-level job, it helps to see the bigger picture and where my career could go.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hiring managers want to see you're interested in a career, not just a job.
Right.
Thinking about those future stages can help you in the interview to show ambition and vision.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind as we go through more questions.
Speaking of which, we have more questions to explore.
Yeah.
Focusing on things like balancing compliance with business goals and ethical challenges.
Okay, I'm eager to hear more.
Great.
This deep dive is super valuable.
I'm glad to hear that. Welcome back. We've covered some essential ground, getting you ready for that interview as Director of Compliance and Information Security in Gambling. But now, let's dive into some questions that'll really test your strategic thinking and leadership.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm feeling much more confident, but I know there's always more to learn, so what's next?
Let's tackle this one. How do you keep your team motivated and engaged in the often demanding and detail-oriented world of compliance and information security?
That's an interesting one. I can imagine how compliance work could feel like tedious or overwhelming sometimes. So how can I show that I can create a positive and motivating environment for my team?
Focus on your leadership style and how you foster engagement and growth. You can mention strategies like setting clear goals, providing feedback and recognition, and encouraging teamwork and collaboration.
Okay.
You could also talk about how you create opportunities for professional development.
Yeah.
Whether it's through training mentorship or encouraging certifications.
So it's about creating a culture where people feel valued and challenged and supported in their growth.
Exactly.
What kind of follow-up questions might they ask to see if I can motivate and lead a team?
They might ask about challenges you've faced motivating team members or how you've handled conflicts or disagreements.
Right.
They could also ask about your approach to delegating tasks and empowering team members.
It sounds like they want someone who can not only lead, but also inspire and nurture their team.
Yeah.
This next question explores a different aspect of leadership. How do you handle disagreements or pushback from other departments when enforcing compliance policies?
This question is all about your communication and negotiation skills.
Right.
Compliance professionals often face resistance.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
From other departments who might see compliance as an obstacle.
So how can I show that I can handle these situations without messing up relationships with other teams?
Focus on highlighting your ability to communicate why compliance is important in a clear, concise, and persuasive way.
Right.
Explain how you build consensus by understanding other departments' perspectives and finding solutions that work for everyone and meet compliance requirements. You can also mention your experience in conflict resolution and handling difficult conversations professionally.
So it's about being firm but fair and maintaining a good working relationship.
Exactly.
What are some follow-up questions they might ask about my conflict resolution skills?
They might ask you to describe a specific situation where you faced pushback and how you resolved it.
Right.
Or they might ask how you'd handle a hypothetical conflict between compliance and business schools.
Okay, so it's about showing I can stand my ground, but also be a team player.
Right.
This next question takes a broader perspective. How do you stay informed about emerging trends and technologies in the gambling industry and assess their potential impact on compliance and security?
This question is about your awareness of the changing gambling industry and your ability to adapt to new challenges.
The gambling industry is known for rapid innovation, with new technologies always coming up. So how can I show that I'm staying ahead and proactively identifying those compliance and security risks?
Talk about your approach to continuous learn, like attending conferences, reading publications, participating in webinars, or pursuing certifications. You could also mention specific trends you're following, like mobile gambling, AI in game development, or cryptocurrency and blockchain. Be sure to discuss the implications for compliance and security and how you'd adapt.
So it's about showing that I'm not just keeping up, but actively seeking out knowledge and anticipating challenges.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about my understanding of emerging trends?
They might ask about a specific technology and how you'd assess its impact. Or they might give you a hypothetical scenario with a new technology and ask how you'd develop a compliance framework.
This next question goes into the ethical considerations of the role. How would you approach a situation where you discovered a potential compliance violation that could be very damaging to the company's reputation, but was also committed by a close colleague or friend?
This question tests your integrity.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like loyalty versus ethics. So how can I answer this and show my commitment to compliance without sounding like I'm inflexible?
It's important to acknowledge the difficulty of the situation, but you also need to emphasize your responsibility to the company and ethical standards. You can explain that you'd follow procedures for reporting violations no matter who's involved. You can also mention seeking guidance from senior management or legal counsel.
So it's about showing I understand the seriousness and am willing to make tough choices to protect the company.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about my ethical decision-making?
They might ask how you'd handle a situation where you suspected a violation but didn't have proof. Or they might ask how you'd balance confidentiality with reporting wrongdoing.
It's about navigating those gray areas with good judgment.
Right.
Now, back to RoleCatcher's AI. How can I use it to make sure I'm handling these ethical questions well in the interview?
RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your answers
Okay.
and give feedback on your tone, language, and message.
Wow.
It can help you find the right balance between showing ethical conduct and not being preachy.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
I want to come across as someone who takes ethics seriously, but understands real-world situations.
Exactly. And remember, the AI is there to enhance your authenticity, not replace it.
Right.
Now let's move on to a question about finances. Can you describe your experience in managing budgets and resources for compliance and security initiatives?
This shows how important financial skills are in this role. So how can I show that I can manage budgets well and make strategic decisions about resources?
Focus on your experience in developing and managing budgets for compliance and security programs.
Okay.
Talk about your understanding of the costs involved, like personnel technology training and consulting fees.
Right.
And share examples of how you've made strategic decisions about resource allocation.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the bigger picture and making good decisions.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about my budget management experience?
They might ask about challenges you've faced
Oh, yeah.
or how you've handled situations with limited resources. They could also ask about measuring the ROI of compliance and security.
Okay, so I need you ready to talk about my financial skills and my strategic thinking.
Yes.
This next question takes a different angle. How do you measure the effectiveness of your compliance and security programs?
This is about understanding metrics and showing the value of your work.
Right, I agree. It's not enough to just say, we're compliant. I need to show that my work makes a real difference. So how can I highlight the impact of my compliance and security efforts?
Focus on specific metrics that show effectiveness, like reduction in violations, improved incident response times, or increased employee awareness.
Okay.
You can also discuss how you collect and analyze data, such as audit surveys and tracking systems.
So it's about using data to tell a story about my work.
Exactly.
What follow-up questions might they ask about measuring effectiveness?
They might ask about challenges in measuring,
Okay.
or how you've handled situations with limited data. They could also ask about using data to improve your programs.
This deep dive has been really helpful in getting me ready for these questions. I'm feeling much more confident about showing my skills.
That's great. And remember, preparation is key.
Yeah.
Review these questions and practice. Use RoleCatcher's AI.
Right.
And believe in yourself.
I will. This has been so insightful.
Glad to hear it.
Now I'm curious about your final thoughts on what it takes to really succeed in this role and make a difference in the industry. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into being a director of compliance and information security in gambling.
We've covered so much.
Yeah, we have.
From interview questions to career paths, and even how to use AI with RoleCatcher.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of this role now.
It's been a journey.
It really has.
But before we go, I want to leave you with some key things to think about.
Okay, I'm listening. What are some of the most important things to remember as I get ready for this interview and for my future in this role?
First, remember, this role is more than checking boxes and enforcing rules.
Right.
It's about being strategic, solving problems, and leading a team.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like what we've been talking about, seeing the big picture and how compliance and security help the organization succeed.
Exactly. You need to connect compliance with business goals and find creative solutions to protect the company, its customers, and its reputation.
And like we said, the gambling industry is always changing, so staying ahead is important.
Yes. New technologies, regulations, and customer expectations will always be there, pushing you to adapt and innovate.
Okay.
So embrace learning, seek out new knowledge, and be ready to think outside the box.
It sounds like this role needs a mix of technical skills, strategic thinking, and communication.
You need to communicate clearly, build consensus, and handle tough conversations professionally.
And we can't forget about integrity and ethics.
Absolutely. As a director of compliance and information security, you'll be protecting sensitive info and upholding ethical standards.
Right.
You'll have to make tough decisions even when they're not popular.
It's a big responsibility, but it's also a chance to make a difference.
I agree. Now, when you're in that interview room, Show your passion, your willingness to learn, and your commitment to compliance and security.
I feel much more confident now after this deep dive.
Good. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help you use its AI tools to work on your resume, tailor your cover letter, and practice your answers.
I will definitely use those. This has been so helpful.
It was great sharing these insights with you. Good luck with your interview. And remember, believe in yourself and your ability to succeed in this role.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of a Director of Compliance and Information Security and Gambling. We'll be back next week with another topic. Until then, stay curious.